But something else that people are talking about everywhere right now, they're talking all over the internet, is about Danny Masterson. That's right, because the verdict came out, everybody. The verdict came out for Danny Masterson, and he's found guilty. He's been found guilty on 2 counts of forcible rape. That's hard to say, even. Forcible rape from the Jane Does, Jen B, and N. Trout. And the 47-year-old is going to be facing up to 30 years behind bars on these 2 counts. Now, of course, there was up for 3 counts of rape, but the one, they went back and forth about it, back and forth. They had, after 5 votes, they were like, well, it's hopelessly deadlocked. That's what they're saying. And they just couldn't get it to work out. I mean, 8 guilty and 4 not guilty. That's what it was the last count. So they couldn't balance it out. So they pled it. So they did not guilty for that. Other 2, he's guilty. And he's waiting for all of his charges to go through. And during that time, the judge was like, he's a flight risk. So we won't allow the ankle bracelet to happen. We're not going to let him be home arrest. We're taking him, we're cuffing him, we're sending him to jail right now. Which, he's got a lot of money. Maybe he would be a flight risk. Apparently, he was just dumbfounded when he was staring at everybody because they already had 1 trial. It didn't go through. They had a mistrial. They couldn't come up with a conclusion. And now they came up with the conclusion, and it could be up to 30 years. That's insane. He was facing 45 before. I mean, 15 to life for each charge. It's just wild to me. You go from like being this big person from that 70s show, big part of our childhood. Mine too. I remember watching this show, and it's like, and then he was on that ranch, and then as soon as the allegations came out, they fired him from the ranch, and everyone parted ways from him. And this trial started April 24th, and now it's done May 12th. And it took him a little bit over a week, and they came up with this. So he's got to be just freaking out a little bit. But also, like, it sounds like he's fucking guilty. That's what it sounds to me. I mean, he is guilty, but it sounds like he's guilty. So, of course, we talked about Amber Heard on this before. Like, you don't know. But, like, to me, this sounds like this man did some bad things. They're bringing in Scientology into here. And they were saying that these girls said they couldn't say anything because of Scientology. And if they did, it would be against the church. And so they didn't say anything, which Sabrina will dive into some more, too. But the official hearing is happening June 4th. And then they're going to actually have it in August. Will be a sentencing forever where they're going to find out what happens. They'll probably appeal because that's what happens. And there's a switch side here. So this happened. And it's crazy that this happened at the same time. But at the same time, Armie Hammer, who was also up for rape and sexual allegations, all of his charges were dropped. It's crazy. It's at the same time. They dropped them all due to the complexity of the relationship and the inability to prove that it was non-consensual. Of course, he's talking about, again, forceful sexual conduct with somebody that he's been dating, though, which is what the third person was, too, in the Danny Masterson case. It was a girlfriend. So in fact, there was a girlfriend. They were going back and forth. It's going on for years. So like, we can't really figure this out if this is actual rape or not. So they threw it out. DA said we can't do anything. So Armie Hammer walks away and Danny Masterson's going to jail. But Armie Hammer was saying like, hey, I took these girls, it was great. We went, traveled, we had sex, we had drugs, big emotions flying around the world. Then we went home, I dropped them off, and then I found myself a new girl. And the girl didn't like that. So, hey, now they're going to say I'm raping them? I mean, well, I don't know if that's all it was because they had that the house of Hammer where people were saying that he's up to some really crazy sex stuff that girls maybe weren't up to. I don't know. But this is some touchy stuff. It is in Hollywood. This stuff happens in real life and it happens to celebrities. When it happens to celebrities, of course, it's bigger, it's blown up more because they're in our mind, they're in the media. And they've been in our TV, our movie theater, so it's a big deal for people. And these 2 men have had these allegations for years, and now one's gone and one's free. But will Armie Hammer actually be fine? That's the thing. Sabrina, what do you think about this? Do you feel this is validated that Danny Masterson's going away and that Armie Hammer is free to walk the streets?
First, not to be off topic here, but the comments are not working on our live stream thing, but I keep clicking over to YouTube to make sure that it's working because we were having some issues. And so Ty, hi, and I'm seeing your comments. I just can't post them. And also BSP, whoever you are, new friend, I cannot post your comments either. So I'm sorry, but I'm seeing what you're saying. And it's hard for me to work it in without putting it up on the screen so that other people can react to it. So I apologize for that. And thank you guys for watching. Now back to this very serious topic at hand, which is extremely disturbing. I'm 100% fine with Hyde from that 70s show going away for 30 years for doing the things that he was doing. It's appalling. And like, I'm really surprised that the first jury was hung, like, honestly, because this is the second time that they're trying the case,
Yeah.
but everything that I've read about it seems
Whew. It's a
like
lot, Sabrina.
very, well,
It's a lot.
it
It's a
seems
fucking lot.
very, very fucking clear. But the whole Scientology aspect of it is really fucked up. And like, Leah Remini was, at both trials and like, supporting the victims because she was, a product of the Church of Scientology. And like one of the hugest or biggest, hugest is not a word, one of the biggest things that they
Humongousness.
teach, ginormous, if you will, is that anything bad that happens to you is your fault. It's 100% your fault. Like everything in your life is controlled by you. It's the decisions you make, it's the things that you do. So everything is your fault. Like if you were walking down the street and a pigeon got hit by a plane and wound up landing on your head and snapped your neck, that's your fault because you chose to walk down the street on that day at that time. So obviously, if you chose to go to Danny Masterson's house and
In the Hollywood
take a
Hills.
drink from him, then you apparently
In a
it's
hot
your
tub.
fault that you got raped. You know what I mean? Like it's just a weird fucking philosophy. And like I could see that like maybe being alluring in some way, like as like I'm in control of my life. But at the same time, it's also pretty fucked up. Like if you're in this religion though, and you're believing all these things that these people are telling you, I don't know how it works there. If there's like a priest of some sort, or like you go to classes, like I'm not really sure what it
Xenu.
entails. But like if the people that you entrust are telling you that everything in your life is your fault, like then how are you going to think that being raped is not your fault? Like you're probably
Yeah.
like, this is
Very
this
true.
this it's I chose to go there. I shouldn't have gone there. I shouldn't have done that, which is 100% what people think anyway when they're assaulted. I shouldn't have made those decisions, but it's not your fucking fault. That's ridiculous. It's absurd.
Hmm.
So it's super unfortunate that that is like one of their main teachings. And Leah Remini has been saying this for years, like way before this case has even come up. Like when she started speaking out against them, that was like one of her big gripes. So I feel like it's a liability for them to say otherwise, and I think part of it is covering their ass because they don't want to be lumped into all this bullshit. They don't want to have their name mentioned in court like it just was. But then the one girl, I know one, maybe both of them, but one girl specifically went to the church and said this happened, and they forbade her from going to the
That's
police.
nuts.
So I mean,
Nuts.
I'm actually glad that they came back with a guilty verdict. I feel a little bit bad for his wife, who obviously doesn't think he's a raper, which clearly he is, because she obviously had a breakdown in the courtroom. But other than that, good fucking riddance, buddy. The other Armie Hammer thing, I don't know. I don't really know. Like he probably had some weird sex habits, and people at the time thought it was fine, but then when he broke up with them, they were like, you know what, it really wasn't cool when you did that to me, and I just was doing it because I was trying to be good with you. I don't know. That's a gray area. And so if there's not enough evidence, then they should absolutely not, bring him to trial for something like that. And also there was a lot of chatter on a social media site, like whatever it was, Instagram or wherever this whole thing like broke. But like the only girl who actually came forward to try to press charges on him was that one girl. And there was not
Yeah.
enough evidence, and so they dismissed it. And that's I think the right thing to do in any case.
Who was a long-term
Uh,
girlfriend too, and
legally,
that was the
right?
whole thing, Effie,
That
her
doesn't
name
make it
was.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
that's
it's,
yeah,
if there's
but
not enough
that's what they were.
evidence, there's not enough evidence.
But that's what they were saying is a long-term girlfriend, so that's why they were like, oh, it was so back and forth. It was like 4 years or something, the relationship. But it's a lot, Chris. This is a heavy topic, man. It's a heavy topic for cruise control. But what are your thoughts? I mean, about this whole situation? Do you think it's bad, right? All of it's bad. All of it's shit. Regardless. Like I feel bad for everybody across the board. But if he's doing this, putting girls in hot tubs, drugging their drinks, and then waking up in bed being raped by him, that's fucking crazy, But Hollywood, man, do you think that's a normal thing that happens here?
So, like we said, it does happen to everyone in the world, right? Not just Hollywood. It happens to everyday people all the time, and it just gets, swept under the rug because it's not Hollywood. It's not in the news. I do think it happens more in Hollywood, though. I think that, people are getting money for some, there's crazy parties. There's stuff that you just don't hear about in the news. And for some reason, these actors feel like they have more control. They have more money. They feel like, you go to set and you get everything done for you, right? Like they're doing your hair, your makeup, they're constantly taking care of you. And it's too bad because I think these cases happened in 2001 to 2004. So that's a long time for these girls to have to think about that. And, like you said, they reported it. The Church of Scientology was trying to sweep it under the rug and trying to forget about it. I think this happens all the time with producers, directors, people from, top networks, and they're trying to always sweep it under the rug. And hopefully it comes to the light now, that, this is happening. But, Danny Masterson, it was just, it was, the girls were saying he was drugging them. Then he would take them to the hot tub, and then they would wake up and he was having sex with them. He was having his way with them while they were, basically passed out. And they all had the same stories. So with him, I wasn't there, but you just have to say, like, the evidence is pretty compelling for, against him. And you know what? If the jury had their way and they said he's guilty, I think that, that's good. He should go to jail for that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, Chris, right? If that's what they're saying, if that's real, like, I don't think that someone like that should be walking around, especially a celebrity like that, But they made that decision. And what about Armie Hammer? Do you think Armie Hammer, Chris? Do you think that there's anything there?
Listen, I don't know much about that case, but and like you said, it was his girlfriend, I think, right? A long-term girlfriend.
Yeah. And he was saying they're traveling the world and shit, and he was like, "That's all these girls."
They were on and off for 4 years. That is a long time.
I'm sure there was some weird stuff going on in that relationship, and some stuff, kinky stuff you don't want to really talk about. But I think he got off, and I think hopefully the court system, got the right decision there.
Yeah, that's the hope, at the end of the day. That's really the hope, that it's all good. And it just seems really fucking crazy. Even the Danny Masterson stuff about how he had a gun in his nightstand and he's pulling it on curls.
He was pulling it at girls, right? Saying, you better do this or else I'm going to shoot you. Like,
just the one girl.
The one girl, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but he's holding a gun up to her saying, you better do this. Like, that's just insane.
I think he put the gun out because somebody came up the stairs or something to check on her, because there was other people at the house. This particular time, I don't know if it's always was that case, you know what I mean? But it was like a social thing. There were other people there. He drugged her apparently, or she had, one drink and then was shit-faced. And I think he threw her in the hot tub and she threw up. And so he took her out of the hot tub. And he's like, I'm going to take her up to the shower, like, as his excuse. And I believe that I read there was so many, like, the stories between the different girls. I if I'm incorrect, I'm sorry, but I believe it was that same girl. He put her in the shower, and then when she woke up and he was on top of her, then he heard somebody coming upstairs, and he took the gun out, basically like, shut the fuck up, don't say a fucking word.
Yes,
and then basically until the person passed or whatever, or left, or something to that effect, which is pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Well, this is these social scenes in Hollywood are just, this is just a horrible case, right? But there's so many cases that you don't hear about where people come to, I have a friend that would sit on the bottom of a car or a limousine, and they'd ride into parties so the paparazzi and other people can see them. So the cars looked empty, but they would hire people to come to these parties, and, drugs and sex and alcohol and, boys and girls. And
they're hiding in the car, Chris? They're hiding in the car?
So they'd be hiding on the bottom of the car floor. So if there was paparazzi or anyone else in front of their house, you couldn't see them through the windows because they'd be laying flat on the floor. And then they'd go to these parties and have crazy parties. And it's insane what goes on that no one hears about.
That's wild. Yeah, that's the thing. You just don't. I mean, Hollywood is a crazy town. This is just a lot, though. People get money and fame and rich and all that, and they can do whatever they can do. And it's just very unfortunate. I've heard rumors of crazy shit happening at parties through the years that actors talk about, but it's all hearsay, all that shit. But I'm just like, if this man did all this shit, it's good that he's going away, honestly. And I feel bad for these women. I feel bad for anybody that ever feels like they've been abused and taken advantage in a situation like this.